Hi, my name is Mira Patassin. I'm an author and I'm an activist, and GoFundMe is my go-to platform for fundraising. The first GoFundMe I did was to raise money for a chapbook or a collection of poetry and essays and short stories. So we started a GoFundMe and our goal was 7,000. What I've learned is so special about GoFundMe is that it's a whole collection of people offering anything from like $4 to $400. And each time you get a ping that someone donated, even if it is just $4, it's so exciting. So if you have a goal and you get there, you can keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. We did go past our goal. It was amazing.
GoFundMe is the world's #1 fundraising platform trusted by over 200 million people. Start your GoFundMe today at GoFundMe.com. That's GoFundMe.com. GoFundMe.com.
In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
Hour 2 of Freedom Fools on WBSM. I am Brian, glad to be with you. Saturday afternoon, kids outside playing. Not a bad day. 55 in Rochester, 56 in Rehoboth, 56 in New Bedford. The quote of the day, pretty interesting considering all that has been going on. I think the whole policy of preemptive war is a serious, serious mistake. I think the whole policy of preemptive war is a serious, serious mistake. Walter Cronkite made that statement a long, long time ago, taking you back into the century the majority of us were born in. But I wonder how that would play out today. And what I'm talking about is the fact that we being in our name, the United States of America, these preemptive strikes on what are reported to be Venezuelan boats. The president has commented, the Secretary of War has commented, the Vice President has commented, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has commented. So it's not like they're trying to hide what's going on. But it does make me wonder. I can't speak for you. I'd certainly love to hear your thoughts on this. Let's start from here. Every time, going back to the first 4 incidents, every time the Trump administration mentioned that they had sunk another or blown up another Venezuelan boat. So if they are all Venezuelan boats, why is the country of Colombia coming out and saying, hey, you sunk one of our boats and there weren't drugs on that boat? And then all of a sudden the United States admits, oh yeah, it was a Colombian boat. And I say it like that because our government has led us to believe that these are boats carrying dangerous drugs headed to the United States. They've been sinking these boats out in the middle of the ocean or the Caribbean Sea. Did they get the charts that says that, well, this boat is heading to the United States? How do they know that boat was headed toward the United States? And if it was headed to the United States and you know that boat right there, why not wait till it gets close enough to the United States to say it's in U.S. waters, board the boat at that particular time, and confiscate the drugs? And then maybe apprehend, and if they're in U.S. waters, bring them to court. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that at least prove the point? And then you've got the president talking about how one boat, you give up 2 or 3 of their lives to save 25,000 of our lives. Except for one thing. Where's the documentation? Where's the proof? Never mind that there were drugs in that boat, but now you're trying to make us believe that 25,000 lives have been saved because you killed 3 other people to make sure that the drugs that you're telling us were on that boat would have gotten to the United States and killed 25,000 people. Now, I don't want to see anybody die because of a drug overdose, but there is no proof from what the president has been stating, or the vice president, or the secretary of state, or the War Department. A top admiral, just recently promoted to admiral from rear admiral, resigned his position as head of that particular area. My guess is, and only a guess, it wasn't because of ill health. It was because of the policy that this nation is using right now against Venezuela. Now, I get it. The president of the United States and even the Biden administration did not like Maduro. But Maduro was, to the best of our knowledge, freely elected in Venezuela. If that's the way they want to run their country, who are we to say that they can't? When the president of the United States orders the Central Intelligence Agency, after Maduro, what is that telling you? I thought it was the drugs. I thought we were supposed to be stopping the drugs. And yet you're going after the leader of a nation and saying that Maduro is emptying out his jails and letting all kinds of nutcakes make their way to the United States. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to try to get into any type of argument about whether or not the Maduro is emptying out his jails and, I guess, ordering his people that, leave your family behind. You're out of jail, but you got to go up to the United States. And by the way, take some drugs with you so we can kill off some people in the United States. Can you imagine that? This administration wants us to believe that storyline. Do you believe that storyline? Are you okay with the fact that we just aimlessly decide that we're going to blow up ships? And what happened the other day, I think yesterday or on Thursday, we attacked a ship still close to, I say ship, boat, still close to South America, but on the Pacific Ocean side. So we are now stepping up this new war, narco, I think is what they're calling, narco war. And it's as if we've got the green, we being the United States of America, has the green light to just blow up any boat that does not heel to our military's command? Does that seem right to you? So I come back to the quote from Walter Cronkite. I think the whole policy of preemptive war is a serious, serious mistake. And I think he hit it on the head. I'm not sure what year he made that statement. I can tell you was prior to the century. I shouldn't say prior to, but in the century that the most of us were born in. I think he's right on point. He may have made a similar statement dealing with the Vietnam War, for all I know. Or that statement might date back to the Vietnam War. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying, if it's okay for us to aimlessly, I say aimless, obviously they've got good aim if they're shooting from drones or whatever and knocking these boats off. But if that is all right, doesn't that open up the door for Maduro or any of these other leaders, some leaders we might like, some leaders we might not like, to do something similar to a U.S. ship and to say, hey, they had drugs on their boat and they were bringing their boat to our country. And we didn't want any of our people to die, so we just knocked off the boat. It might seem silly. Nobody would do that to the United States. Yeah. Nobody would try to blow up the World Trade Center. 508-996-0500. Hello.
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 How are you?
I am. How are you?
Do you really think we're doing this aimlessly?
I just said so, yes.
Don't you think we have intel already on what's going on with these boats?
I think we're told.
I think we're out a boat and we're picking out a boat and just blowing it up because it's coming from Venezuela.
And what about the ones that aren't coming from Venezuela?
But in the same sense, if you knew that I was going to go down there and beat your ass at the end of this day, wouldn't you get protection? I think he's doing this, and he's not telling the people. He's not telling the people the intel they have, because if he did tell the people the intel that we had, then they wouldn't be doing it, would they? They would know that they're going to be in trouble when they get in the water because we're looking for them. I don't think he's doing this aimlessly. I believe that he has intel that these boats are carrying illegal narcotics and they're headed to the U.S. But if he tells somebody that, oh, we know that they're coming, or if he exposes the fact that we know the intel that's going on, then certainly they're not going to go, are they?
I don't know that to be true. I would turn around and
I would suspect.
I just listened to you. All right. And that's all we can do is suspect. I would say this to you. If there were drugs, why not just stop the boat and search the boat and find out if there are drugs? Number two, how do you know those boats are coming to the United States? You're picking them off in international water. At least, if they're coming to the United States, wait until they get into U.S. water. All right, go ahead.
That's a good possibility. That's a good possibility. I understand that fact that we could stop them, but I think he's setting a precedence too. He's setting a precedence, so you don't even try. I do believe he has intel.
If he is doing that, then other countries can do something similar to us. Are you okay with that?
If they have intel on what we're doing is illegal, don't you feel the same way?
No, I think
if I tell you I'm going to be there at the end of the day to take care of you, aren't you going to get some protection saying, oh, somebody's going to be coming to get me?
No,
So
I would.
need some
Why
extra
would you
protection.
say anything? You would wait until they get to a particular
Why
point.
would you say anything? Absolutely.
But you're
why
not.
would you say anything?
Hello, but
Yes.
you don't just blow them out of the water. All right, you stop
If you
them.
know they're carrying illegal narcotics, I agree with you. You probably
How do you
don't blow them out of the
know?
water.
You see,
Wait till
we're
they're in
supposed to
US.
believe that they're carrying illegal narcotics, and it's okay for them to blow up the boats. Prove that they're illegal. Okay, when I say illegal, prove that they're narcotics.
Okay, I believe that he has intel. I don't believe that he's just doing this randomly, blowing boats up out of the water. I believe he has
You don't
intel.
think this guy has lied enough that there should be some proof? Do you think that an admiral who was just promoted to admiral from rear admiral just nilly-willy decides to resign from that particular, he's running that whole sector? You don't think that it ran through his head that, hey, this is wrong, and he left? He resigned?
Again, that's speculation. I agree.
All right, but that's what all of this is. All right, and this president has proved that he is pretty good at not always telling the truth. And so what I'm saying is, if you really think that there are drugs on these boats, all right, I'll give the benefit out. Maybe there are drugs on the boats, but you can't prove to me when they're out there in the middle of the ocean that that boat is definitely coming to the United States. But if it is, at least wait until, there's a 3-mile or 8-mile barrier that says this is U.S. waters. When they get into U.S. waters, stop the boat.
Agreed.
Seize the cargo if there is cargo to seize.
Agreed.
And prove the point. You don't have to telegraph that you're going to do it. You do it when you've got them in our sights.
But don't you feel in the same sense by doing what he's doing right now, it may deter someone else from bringing in illegal drugs out of Venezuela?
I don't think that is. I don't think that is a legal thing to do. I don't think that's illegal. To just go pick off people from another country and try to make people believe that he's got drugs that are coming to the United States. I don't think that is legal.
Yeah, I really don't think that he can show you how he's getting this intel, only for the simple fact is if they knew that he already knew that they were coming in, do you think they would come in?
So I'm hearing what you're saying. Okay, so he's got the intel, all right? All right, as you say, he's got the intel. Okay, well, what does the FBI do? They've got the intel, but don't they wait until a person puts themselves in a position that says, now we've got a case to take to court?
Agreed.
Okay.
But in the same sense, if he got the intel and the boats are loaded with the drugs, isn't that the same thing?
No, it's not.
They're loaded
because
with the drugs and they're heading in.
You're not waiting. You're not getting it proved in a court of law. That is what I'm getting at. You don't need to blow these people up out of the water. You apprehend them, and if they're in U.S. waters, you can take them to court. In international water, you can't take them to court. So you should not be blowing up boats in international waters that you can't prove were definitely heading to the United States.
I wouldn't say you can't prove it. He probably can prove it by the intel that he has.
But you wouldn't need to. If they're heading to the United States, when they get into U.S. waters, there's plenty of time between the time that boat gets into U.S. water.
I agree
so
with
you wouldn't need to blow them up. But so he can have all the intel in the world. He's blowing, pardon the expression, he's blowing it up.
Yep.
That's all he has to do.
I think it was more setting a precedent for future smugglers to come in on a boat. Are they really going to anticipate coming in if they think they're going to get blown out of the water? I think that's what he's the fear factor.
Okay. So let's just take it from the fear factor side of the street. You're blowing up boats. How many drugs do you think were blown up in the boat? compared to what comes across the border, what's going to come across in a plane. I think we're still having people die from drug overdoses. Not that many, but people dying from drug overdoses, and people selling. I keep on hearing the stories out of New Bedford, another drug bust. Now, I'm willing to say that the drug busts that are happening in New Bedford right now have nothing to do with any of the drugs coming on these boats, because they wouldn't have had enough time to transfer hands to make their way here. But I don't think this is making much of a dent. More to the point, and, I kind of got away from this. I think the sights are on Maduro and not necessarily the drugs.
Okay. My biggest concern is you feel that he's doing this aimlessly. And I don't feel that he's doing this aimlessly. I feel that he has intel that he can't expose to you, the actual intel he has, or he can't expose to the American public, because if he did, then they wouldn't do it.
You're talking about the people who wouldn't run the drugs.
Right.
Okay, well, but isn't that what you want?
I don't feel he's doing this aimlessly.
Wait a minute. Isn't that what you want? To not have the bad guys running drugs. So if you let them know, maybe they don't run the drugs, and then you don't have to kill them.
Then they fly it over.
But they're probably doing that already anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure that we're working on that also.
Okay, well, you be sure about it. In the meantime, let's watch out for what's going to really happen in Venezuela, because if you're doing that, then you don't need the CIA on the ground in Venezuela.
Which we have right now.
The president gave the order.
Yes, he did.
Okay, but not for the drugs. But for Maduro, he came out and said it.
Yeah.
Okay, he came out and said it. So I think there is a chess game that he's trying to play, but there are people that are reading through this. Once again, if there were drugs, let's go through the proper channels of the courts of law. Catch them in the United States or in U.S. waters. Bring them. If you keep on catching people in U.S. waters and you confiscate the drugs and you take these guys to trial and they're found guilty, there you go. That's as good as blowing them up and not having that this is making an international scene. And
yes, it is.
What I don't know you personally, but I don't want to see anything happen to us and then us turn around and say, why do they hate us? Okay?
Yep.
All right, my man. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Happy Halloween.
You got it.
Don't eat that candy.
To you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
508-996-0500. We can continue, and I think we will. Hello.
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 I cannot believe I heard what you said. We ought to warn them, and then maybe they won't come. You are a sick individual. You want to warn them? The ones that are coming here with drugs? We shouldn't have blown them out of the water?
Absolutely.
Why
should we warn them? I'm going to answer you. I'm not so much that I think that we need to warn them, but I say that we wait if we know they've got the drugs, wait till they get into U.S. waters.
What for?
Because we know then by apprehending the boat that they really do have drugs on them.
I think Donald Trump and his gang know all about what's going on.
Well, that's your problem, not mine. That is not my. You're not going to be my problem. Yeah. Okay. That is what we have here in the United States. We have a checks and a balance, and we want proof.
He did the right thing.
Oh, well, of course you think he did. Of course you think he did.
You think he did because you hate him.
I don't. It's not that I hate him.
The guy can't even sneeze.
Talking to the phone. Talking to the phone.
He stopped the drugs from coming in.
No, he didn't stop he might have stopped that boat, but he didn't, or those boats, but it doesn't mean he stopped drugs from coming in.
I don't know what's wrong with you. I really don't. You're not for your own country. You're against your...
Oh, there you know what? This is where I put an end to it. I'm not for my... That is a Republican line that keeps on... It's so worn out, it should be on your car and your tires or something like that. I'm sorry. I am for this country, and that is what I'm trying to prove. You know, we do things constitutionally, and this is one of those things that could easily be stated, this is not constitutional, all right? We don't know that there are drugs on the boat. You don't know that there are drugs on the boat, okay? All we're asking for here is proof, and there are ways to prove it. If those boats really are coming to the United States, wait till they get, you got the surveillance. Wait till they get into U.S. waters. And when they're in U.S. waters, you can apprehend that boat. You can search that boat. And if there are drugs in that boat, you can bring the people in and try them for trying to bring the drugs into the country. Instead of blowing the boat out of the water and making us try to believe that there are really drugs on that boat. It's not that difficult. If there really are drugs on the boat, and if there are drugs on the boat, then why is the CIA going after Maduro in Venezuela? Why that order? Two different things here. But if you want to believe there are drugs in the boat, great. I'm not saying that there are not drugs in the boat. I want the proof. That is what I'm asking for. And if you got a problem with that, well, maybe you're the one that's not an American. Maybe you're the one that's not for this country. I am for this country. And although I'm not wearing a blue sleeve today or a red sleeve today, I love the United States of America. And I don't want to see us go down the tubes because we have people that are saying they're trying to clean up the drug. I suppose you believe that 25,000 people have been saved because 3 people died on one of these boats. I mean, where does that come from? Where's even the inkling of proof from that? 508-996-0500. There isn't. And are we getting to the point that Donald Trump said it, so it must be true? Joe Biden said it, so it must be true? Man, oh, Manischewitz. This is part of the reason why things are going crazy in this country. We are so divided that we don't try to seek truth anymore. It's either the Republicans are right, the Democrats are right, you got the liberals over here, you got the conservatives over there. Nobody is seeking the truth. Nobody is trying to do things constitutionally. Think about that. Anybody could be running drugs or not running drugs and have a speedboat, and another nation say, well, they're trying to bring drugs into our country and blow up a U.S. boat. Are you going to just sit there and believe it? Are you going to just sit there and believe it? My guess is no, you'd be irate if another country did that to a small boat owner here from the United States, not knowing for sure that person was running drugs. You're just willing to believe that there are drugs in that boat. Now, I'm not saying that there are not drugs in the boat. I am saying I want the proof. I think the courts would like to have the opportunity to prove it. If you got a problem with that, then you're not for this country. Not me. You're not for this country.
Oh, darling, it's important that you believe me, that it can't happen here.
This is WBSM.
Here's what's happening this weekend in an encore broadcast of Town Square Sunday. We'll talk with Anthony Barboza, world-renowned photographer with roots in New Bedford. We'll also learn about a documentary being shown in New Bedford next month on the dangers of social media. And 2 retired Marines will share details about a local celebration in Freetown of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Marine Corps. I'm Jim Phillips. Join me for Town Square Sunday, Sunday morning at 6 and 11 on 1420 WBSM, 99.5 FM.
The government may be shut down. Legitimate business funding remains open. See for yourself at legitimatebusinessfunders.com. Legitimatebusinessfunders.com.
Hi, my name is Mira Patassin. I'm an author and I'm an activist, and GoFundMe is my go-to platform for fundraising. The first GoFundMe I did was to raise money for a chapbook or a collection of poetry and essays and short stories. So we started a GoFundMe and our goal was 7,000. What I've learned is so special about GoFundMe is that it's a whole collection of people offering anything from like $4 to $400. And each time you get a ping that someone donated, even if it is just $4, it's so exciting. So if you have a goal and you get there, you can keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. We did go past our goal. It was amazing.
GoFundMe is the world's #1 fundraising platform trusted by over 200 million people. Start your GoFundMe today at GoFundMe.com. That's GoFundMe.com. GoFundMe.com.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
There's no better fool than the Freedom Fools. Now, back to Brian.
I said a government's a way, way, way too big. Government's a way, way, way too big. You know that government's a way, way, way too big. So tell us what you gonna do to make it small. Your move.
Gonna get a TV dinner and cook it up. Oh, get a TV dinner and cook it up, cook it up. Oh, and it won't happen here.
It won't happen here. I certainly hope that it doesn't happen here. I certainly hope that some country doesn't say, well, that boat from the United States was carrying drugs, so we had to blow it up out of the water because it was heading to our shores. Or something, it doesn't have to be drugs, could have been they were running guns. I'm asking, like many other people that love this country, for proof. Now, we don't have to out, a caller prior to the last, we talked back and forth. And he might be correct that the United States has intel that these boats would be running drugs into the United States. Well, there's one way to find out. You can see the precision that the drones or whatever missile projectile is being used to pick these boats off. If it can do it in international waters, not far from Venezuela, I'm willing to bet that if we wanted to use that same course of action, that if that boat was in U.S. waters, we could pick it off just as easily. Okay? But that still doesn't prove that there are drugs on the boat. And if you'll notice here in the United States, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the FBI, local police, state police, they don't just go out and shoot people that are trying to deal drugs to folks, one U.S. citizen to the next, or maybe one undocumented person to the next, or maybe the next to an undocumented person. No, they wait till they catch the people with the goods, so they know they can take that person to court and hopefully find her or him guilty and, throw the book at him. Why can't you do the same thing with these people from outside the country that you're telling us are trying to run drugs into the country? 508-996-0500. You see, that there is something that just does not pass the sniff test. It's akin to saying that all these cities are burning up, and, Portland's burning. And then you talk to the people from Portland, you look at the videos from things that are going on in Portland, and it's not the same as the president describes. Look, he uses colorful language. He is a showman, and he proved it with his Metza successful TV show that he used to have. But it's not the same as proving it here. And there's plenty of skepticism. Maybe you're not skeptical, but I would say this to you. You should be. You should be. And considering there are ways to find out if they are bringing drugs into the country without those drugs getting into the country, then why don't we use that method? We certainly have. We've done it before. We've had the Coast Guard stopping ships at sea. We've got naval vessels that could stop ships at sea from ever making it to U.S. shores. And yet we have to just pick these boats off. I believe that this is a move to provoke Maduro, the head of Venezuela, into trying to do something against us. He's already setting up defenses in case we send troops into Venezuela to overthrow the government in Venezuela. Nobody's really talking about that. Nobody's talking about the fact that we have CIA actively trying to figure out a way to overturn an elected president of a country. And I would think that we would want to be heavily knowledgeable of what is going on, what our people are doing. Say whatever you want about the New York Times. Say whatever you want about major media or social media, independent journalists. But this story is out there. And the fact that people want to just blindly believe that this is okay, that the president is doing the right thing, is equally troublesome. Because most of the time you would want to have proof. And if we don't have that proof, to me that is a major, that in and of itself is a crime. That the people don't want the proof. What is that telling me? Just let the president aimlessly do what he wants, have his people do what he says to do, and we don't care about the rule of law anymore? Is that what you would prefer? Because I can tell you, yours truly does not prefer. I would prefer the rule of constitutional law. I would prefer the rule of admiralty law and the U.S. laws that are on the books. And I don't see anywhere, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't see anywhere where any of this is legal or legitimate. And to me, there's a difference between legal and legitimate. Legal is, what does the law say? What does the Constitution say? Legitimate means not only that, but it passes the so-called sniff test. So it's not only is it legal, but it's ethical. And it seems to me that we here in the United States have the wherewithal to stop these boats. They can't escape us. And you might be able to escape one boat, but you're not going to escape the fact that we have quite a bit of our fleet down in that area. And so, one thing's for sure. If they think that we're on to them, they won't run those drugs or be able to get those drugs into the United States. And if that's what we're trying to do, stop drugs coming in, whether they're coming in from Venezuela or Colombia or you name your country. If our intel is all that great, and I do believe we've got some of the best intel out there, just like our FBI and our DEA, our Treasury Department, we've got great intel all over. And intel usually means that something is going to happen and you set the bait so you catch them with the goods so you can bring them to court. But in this particular case, you're just blowing up the ships. That is telling me you not only do you not want to bring them into court, but you're trying to provoke something. And when you say that these are Venezuelan ships and it turns out that one is a Colombian boat, well, where's the intel with that? How did you not know it was a Colombian boat with Colombian people on it? Something, it just does not pass the sniff test. And we as a nation should be on guard for that. We should be looking for that. We should be asking. And if we don't, then we deserve what we're getting. And right now, whether or not I like the president, I openly admit I do not like the president. But I understand he was the person that was elected by the people. But I'm listening to guys like Steve Bannon that is out there preaching right now that Donald Trump will be the president. He's saying in 2028. Of course he will be, because he doesn't officially get out of office. His term doesn't officially end until January 20 of 2029. But Steve Bannon is talking about Donald Trump will be the next president. That the job still isn't done. This guy, Donald Trump, hasn't been in a whole year, and you're trying to tell us over the next 3 years that Donald Trump still can't get the job done? Not only that, if you listen, and maybe I'll play some for you on Monday, but if you listen to Steve Bannon, J.D. Vance isn't good enough. Marco Rubio isn't good enough. None of the president's men are good enough. None of the other Republicans seem to be good enough. It has to be Donald Trump. That's worrisome. And then you wonder why there was a No Kings rally. Now, I don't think Donald Trump is a king, but you can see and hear, by the way, Steve Bannon and many of the others in the echelons, upper echelons of MAGA are talking about Donald Trump. They're not talking about J.D. Vance taking over. I guess they don't believe he is strong enough to carry the Trump torch. They're talking about Trump. Now, I don't know if the people are going to elect Trump again. If I read the Constitution, Donald Trump doesn't have the opportunity to run for president again. But Steve Bannon is saying there are ways. And I'm wondering, what are the ways? Are they the ways that the yous and me's would really want Donald Trump to be president going into January 21st, 2029 and beyond? That's a long way away. But it's got me wondering, what are these ways? And I would hope that it has you wondering exactly what Steve Bannon is talking about, because it's troublesome. In talking about this, I do want to get back to something that I believe we started. Did we start the hour or did we end the last hour talking about what's on the docket here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Completely got sidestepped listening to one of the ABC News stories at the top of the hour. But there is a state rep, his name is Paul Feeney. He introduced a bill that would limit grocery stores. So think of Shaw's, think of Stop and Shop. Don't think of Market Basket, because Market Basket doesn't have self-checkout. But it would limit the number of self-checkout stations at these major grocery stores like the Shaw's, like the Stop and Shop, to only 8. And require that there be a staffed lane for every 2 self-checkout machines that are open. Talk about controlling how a supermarket operates. Now, last time I was at Stop and Shop, I went to a staffed checkout lane. Why? Because it was open, and there was a person standing there. I think he was getting ready to wipe clean the scanner. And I said, well, look, there's no line here. I'll just go and buy what I'm going to buy right now, say hi to the person, have a polite conversation, and be on my way. And that's what I did. But most of the time, I find that these checkout lines are pretty full. Couple of reasons. People that have full grocery carts, they don't want to be doing their own self-checkout. And so when you've got 3 or 4 people and only 2 or 3 lines open, that makes for deep lines of waiting. Who wants to wait? And so if I only have 6, 7, 8, 10 items, I'll go to the self-checkout because I want to get in and out as quickly as possible. Lately, I've noticed in particular over at Shaw's, a lot of people are doing the self-checkout because the people that have the full carts, they're waiting in line at one of the 2, 3, or 4 stations that are opened up for them. It seems to work. I don't know. I get the idea that Rep or Senator Feeney is worried about the fact that people are losing their jobs. I get it. I don't know that that's going to stop. But What I fear, once again, is government is going to try to fix something that really, really isn't broken.
That they would freak out in Minnesota.
This is WBSM.
You know how politicians take advantage of a crisis. Would it be okay if I do the same? The Small Business Administration is closed during the shutdown. However, owners still have a viable option. It's called alternative capital through legitimate business funders. At legitimate business funders, owners can get up to $2 million with no collateral in just a few days. To find out more, go to legitimatebusinessfunders.com. legitimatebusinessfunders.com.
With the state of today's economy, it is more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made of the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back into your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.
Hi, my name is Mira Patassin. I'm an author and I'm an activist, and GoFundMe is my go-to platform for fundraising. The first GoFundMe I did was to raise money for a chapbook or a collection of poetry and essays and short stories. So we started a GoFundMe and our goal was 7,000. What I've learned is so special about GoFundMe is that it's a whole collection of people offering anything from like $4 to $400. And each time you get a ping that someone donated, even if it is just $4, it's so exciting. So if you have a goal and you get there, you can keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. We did go past our goal. It was amazing.
GoFundMe is the world's #1 fundraising platform trusted by over 200 million people. Start your GoFundMe today at GoFundMe.com. That's GoFundMe.com. GoFundMe.com.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Freedom Pools on WBSM. Here's more with Brian Thomas.
That they would freak out in Minnesota. Who could imagine?
Freaking out in Minnesota. Look, I admit it. I do self-checkout. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm glad. I mean, if it's going to be more convenient for me, why do you think the stores have self-checkout? Because for convenience, and yes, it does save them money. But the state wants to come in, or at least one lawmaker, he would like it so he could tell you how many self-checkout lanes a store can have. And for every one that is open, you have to have another station open where people can just go through,
With the state of today's economy, it is more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made of the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back into your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com with code STAPLE20.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.